Good evening, I'm Pete Spain. Many thanks to John Soltis for hosting us and to all of you for coming tonight. I'm humbled and honored to be running with somebody as wonderful as Christina Smith, as you just heard, to represent you and our diverse district. There's serious work to be done at this critical time in City Hall and in our communities, especially in light of last year's 29% mill rate increase, the daily challenges facing many of our friends and neighbors, and our city's precarious finances. Those finances got worse last Friday when, through an executive order, the governor eliminated $8.5 million for our public schools that our city was depending on. And just last night, in the Connecticut Mirror, it was reported that the state's program that brought in $17 million to Bridgeport since 2015 from a share of sales tax revenues is being cut dramatically. Perhaps we'll hear tonight from Scott Burns, the co-chair of our Budget and Appropriations Committee, about the contingency plans that he has in mind. Any substantive discussion of Bridgeport's future must include financial sustainability, yours, mine, and our city's. We need an honest accounting. And with that must come qualified expertise and professional standards, which I believe Christina Smith and I offer. But ultimately, we are only as good as our word. If we can't get that right, little else matters. As the new co-chair of the Budget and Appropriations Committee last year, Scott Burns approved a budget that locked in the 29% mill rate increase, the highest tax increase in the history of Bridgeport. When Scott ran in 2015, he promised in his literature that he would, quote, lead the fight to reduce property taxes and their impact. And then at a council candidate forum that October, much like this one, Scott said, quote, we don't want to drive people out because of obscene taxes. Scott also said then at the same event, quote, I'm at a point in my life where I feel like there are big important issues in the world, but as long as we're alive and healthy and all that, we can deal with them. Perhaps Scott will explain tonight to all the people here and throughout our community who've been devastated by the 29% mill rate increase, how they can deal with that big important issue in their world. And if he does, then maybe Scott can also explain this. In this Vote for Burns and Kane flyer, Scott claims the following. In the first 2 years, I've fought to address the unfair tax burden on local residents. The piece claims that Scott and Rowan will, quote, work to continue to reduce the city's reliance on residential property taxes. I don't know how these two will lead us out of the financial quicksand or begin to address Bridgeport's new stark fiscal reality due to the state cutbacks, much less our city's $1.7 billion in unfunded liabilities. An honest accounting is needed, and that will provide the essential foundation for a comprehensive economic development plan for the next 5 years. We must make smart investments in education, tourism, enterprise zones, public safety, streetscapes, and coastal resiliency. Investments that we must be able to both measure and analyze, because if we can't measure and analyze, then we can't manage. And if we can't know the price tag, then why are we putting taxpayers on the hook to pay for it? I'm deeply concerned. The record shows we won't get an honest accounting from Scott, who promises and doesn't deliver, and then campaigns on the broken promise as a positive effort. I'm concerned we can't get an honest accounting from Scott and Rowan, whose fundraiser last week featured Mario Testa, Joe Ganim, and the local Democratic Town Committee boss, Danny Roach. What kind of young, fresh ideas will emanate from this rogues gallery? Evidently, they're pleased with Scott Burns' performance and the newbie to Bridgeport, Rowan Kane, who paid his car taxes in June this year to the town of Guilford. Reportedly, he's lived in Bridgeport for 8 months. Couldn't the Democratic Town Committee find someone who has community roots? Someone who has demonstrated a love for Bridgeport for more than a few months? Is there no feeder system, no development track? What is the point of the DTC in our district? Just another layer of political dysfunction that does not serve the greater good? My fellow citizens of the 130th, we need real change on the city council now. We need real change for the better. And that comes from people who have proven themselves in the community with their qualifications, effective leadership, and integrity. And that's just what Senator Marilyn Moore said in her endorsement of me and Christina Smith. She said that we have, quote, the integrity and the leadership we need to make our community thrive. And we've got something else too, a willingness to listen, to work together, to communicate, and to turn the conversation into positive action. So let's make things happen on September 12th and beyond. Thank you.